Hi guys, and welcome back to Fifi's Fabulous Adventure. I am finally home. Today has been a good day. I've been resting and getting in a little bit of food, a little soup, and it feels good to finally have something in my tummy. So I really wanted me and Heather to be able to do a live together and tell you our story because she has parts that I don't, and vice versa, but her internet's not good enough to do it. So I was just going to get on and tell you about our adventure. And oh my, what an adventure it was. So we got to the airport in Little Rock and I said my goodbyes. And I thought to myself, holy crap, like this is happening. And our first plane that we got on was small and there was 2 seats on either side. Well, I had bought myself 2 seats, thank God, because they were tiny. And even though you buy 2 seats, they're not comfortable because there's a divider thing and it's really not comfortable. But I did have space, so that was fine. And our first takeoff was pretty smooth and I was really amazed. I took a lot of pictures and it was really awesome. We got to Denver, Colorado. And they were waiting for me there with a wheelchair and they wheeled us to our gate and everything was great. And then we got on the second plane, which was a bigger plane, and Heather and I got to sit together because there was 3 bigger seats. And that was more fun because we could talk and, whatever. That was a longer flight, so it made it go a little easier. And we got to San Diego Airport about 3:30 or 4:30. And we met up with Raphael, the EOC driver, and he took us straight to our hotel because it was a little late in the evening to do pre-ops, and it was a long drive. Not really a long drive, but a long wait to get over the border because there was so much San Diego traffic. But when we got to the border, it was really like, hey man, like, we just passed on through like we knew everybody, but we got to the Hotel Lucerna and it was beautiful. Like our room was great, the beds were great, and Heather was hungry, so we went to a restaurant. They had 2 restaurants downstairs and it was real fancy and it was really really nice. And I had a tortilla soup broth and it was a little spicy, but it was very good. And some apple juice. And Heather had a chicken that was stuffed with cheese and spinach and then some noodles. And she said it was okay. But everything was in pesos. And so you look at the menu and each thing costs 225 pesos. And you're like, oh my gosh. But we found out it's 19 pesos per $1 American dollar. So our meal, I think, cost 30 something dollars. And we got a good night's rest that night. It seems like that time in Mexico just goes so slow, I guess because we're 2 hours behind there than here. So when it was 7 there, it was 9 at home. So my body's still telling me it's 9 and it's 7 and we went to sleep. So the day of surgery, we got up and got everything packed and they picked us up right when they said they were going to, took us to the hospital, and it was probably 15-20 minute drive at the most. It really wasn't bad. And we were going through Mexico and oh my gosh, Mexico traffic is crazy. Like as soon as you get across the border, there are no stop signs, there's no nothing. It's just people merging. Like we were all in the van going, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. I don't know how they don't have road rage or somebody get hurt, but nobody wrecks. It's just, I don't know how they do it, but anyway, that's off topic. But so we get to the hospital and the outside's kind of, whatever, but the inside was really beautiful. And we were sitting on the couches there waiting to do pre-op. And there was some people down at the elevator, and they're walking around in their little gowns from the hospital and they got their IV pole and their hair's all messy, and stuff like that. And I thought, ooh, I'm not going to do that. Like I got to keep myself together. And so there was this guy walking, and he was talking to us, and he said, "Oh, it's not that bad, you know. Once you get the drain tube out, it's a lot better, and this and that." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I got this." So, she calls me back from my pre-op, and she tries to draw blood, and nothing. And I don't have good veins, and then I don't think that I had gotten hydrated enough. So she pokes me 2 or 3 times, and she's like, "Well, we're gonna have to get somebody else." So while we're waiting, she does the EKG, and everything was fine. And finally, a guy comes in, and he starts poking around, and they finally got an IV here, right in the bend. Well, I'm fat, so it don't want to stay flat unless I almost hyperextend my arm. So for 8 hours, that's what I had to do, is just leave it. And everything I did, I had to leave it. But we got to our room, and it was a great room. Like the hospital bed was very comfortable. We had a great view and a balcony, and we pretty much just waited. Like, I slept and probably griped a lot, but just because I was antsy and I didn't like the placement of the IV, but that's all we could do at the time. So the time finally came, and they came and got me for surgery, and they were wheeling me down. And we got back there, and I had to say, you know, bye to Heather. And I was walking in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I was freaking out. And so they gave me a little step stool to get up on the table. And the anesthesiologist, he was the sweetest little guy. He was the older gentleman. And he was like, I'm going to give you something to make you feel better, you know, make you calm. And he gave me something, and it was like clouds, and phew, I was gone, you know. And so when I woke up, I was in a lot of pain, and I was not happy. I did feel like I was going to throw up. And I never did, but I kept saying, I need to throw up. I need to throw up. And they kept saying, are you okay? And I'm like, no. Are you okay? No. But they had also, while I was in there, put another IV in right here for me and had it wrapped up, you know, and that was a lot better. And so they got me back to my room, and Heather said that when I came off the elevator, she was gonna video it. And the look on my face, she was like, oh my God, I'm not videoing that. And she said she didn't know what was going on, but I was really in a lot of pain and just kind of loopy. But they got me in my bed, got me settled, and she put my CPAP on me, and I slept till like 4:30 in the morning. And this was like 6 in the afternoon by the time it was done, I think. I really don't know. So at 4:30, I get up and I walk the halls. I just started walking because I was hurting, and you know, you have all that gas that they put in your stomach, and you gotta get it out. And so Gas-X does not work, by the way. I don't know why they tell you to bring it, because it don't help nothing. The pain meds that they gave, I don't know what it was, but it didn't really do much for me. She kept saying that she was giving me pain meds, but I never really felt anything. It wasn't really a lot of pain as far as like incisions or anything. It was more the drain put a lot of pressure on everything. It was hard to breathe, couldn't take a deep breath. It's just very uncomfortable. But a lot of it was just the air too, the gas that's trapped in there. But about 5 something, they brought me in this little blue liquid, and they said, you know, try to sip this down in the next, you know, hour or two. Don't hurry. It doesn't taste good. And so, you know, I started drinking on it, and I was so happy to have something to drink. Like, I didn't even care. It was just like, it was like water with a bitter aftertaste. It wasn't bad at all, except that it turned your mouth blue. I didn't know that till I saw everybody else's mouth later and realized that mine looked like that too. But I got that down with no problem. And then we waited, and we went down for our leak test, and I got down there, and my hair was a hot mess, and I didn't have no makeup on, and I did not care. So now I know what the other ladies were feeling. But I did walk as much as I could that day, and my leak test went fine. Everything was fine. They give you a clear liquid when you go in, and you have to drink it at one time. And I could see it, like I watched it go down, and I saw where my stomach is and all that. And then he showed me I had a huge air bubble in my stomach, and my stomach was actually that, you know, little, but the air bubble was huge. So I knew, you know, why I was hurting so bad. And so we went back to the room and kind of hung out, and we didn't really video a whole lot because there was not much going on but me probably griping and, you know, Heather wanting Dr. Peppers. But it was a long day because I wanted to drain out so bad. And they kept saying, oh, he'll be here, you know, in an hour, and then in an hour. And I guess they had stuff going on. But finally, the doctor did come in, and he got the drain tube out. And I was dreading it, but wanting it at the same time. And it was like, he talked to me while he did it, you know, and kept me talking. And it wasn't like painful, but it was uncomfortable. It was almost like an ache that just moved wherever the drain tube moved. It was just like a little ache. But he got that out, and I felt instantly better. And Heather was gonna video that, and she decided she didn't even want to be in the room for it. So we don't have that on video, but it's okay. I can tell you that on a scale of 1 to 10, it might be a 2 or a 3 on a pain. I mean, anybody can deal with that. So that day, after I got the drain tube out, they did another IV because both of these had stopped working. And I finally had to take that one out because this one stopped working. So I had no IVs, and I didn't have my drain tube. So I'm walking around, you know, and my blood pressure started going up. I think because of the drain tube and, you know, dealing with all that stuff. So they got worried, and they wanted to give me a blood pressure pill, but it wasn't mine. And Heather's like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, she has her own medicine and this and that. And not all of the nurses there speak English. Some of them used like Google Translate to communicate. And so we were trying to use Google Translate to, you know, tell them. But what they were saying is that their medicine didn't have a diuretic and mine does. And I can't have a diuretic when I don't have an IV to get fluids in, and I can't take in enough fluids orally. So then we got that figured out. And I have not had blood pressure medicine yet. I'm going to go see my doctor tomorrow and talk to him about that. So we'll see. Maybe I don't even need it. I don't know. Funny thing, though, talking about Heather and her Dr. Peppers. So I think it was the first night in the hospital. There was a little nurse, and I don't know if it was while I was going to surgery or before. I can't remember. Everything's kind of fuzzy. That's why I wanted her on here, too. But she goes out to the nurse's station, and she's like, look, I will pay big money for a Dr. Pepper. And he's like, oh, well, there's a store across the street. And she's like, can you go get me one? I'll give you a $20 bill. You go get me a Dr. Pepper, because all I've had is Coke. And he's like, well, they're very cheap here in Mexico. She said, well, just get me a couple and keep the change. So he goes across and gets her 1 bottle and 3 cans. And he told her he was going to put the cans in a refrigerator around there. And so she finally had a Dr. Pepper, and she was happy. The next day, she goes to looking for these Dr. Peppers that he's put in a refrigerator, and nobody knows because it's a different shift. And that shift, not many people spoke English. So she couldn't translate what she was trying to say. But finally, that guy came back in the afternoon, and he went and found them for her and gave them to her. So she moved them to another fridge where she would know they were. But she finally got her Dr. Peppers. And there were some really nice nurses. Some of the guys spoke really good English. I got to meet a couple of the girls that I had been talking to on the EOC page, and that was great. We met so many cool people. We hung out with some Canadians, and they were great for people that we met from Canada, and I loved them all. And we did get to go and eat with them one day, and that made me feel a little better. You know, I think that was Friday. Yeah, that was Friday. And we all, you know, the Sleeve sisters, we had broth, and everybody else had their food, but it was still great. And I was really, really, really homesick. And looking back on the trip, it was amazing. But going through it, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like, I don't think I really took the time to enjoy it or to appreciate things like I would have otherwise. I guess when you don't feel good, you know, you don't. But so we had a little hiccup with our flight because it was at 10:30 but the shuttle didn't run until 8, and it may take 2 or 3 hours to get back across the border. So it ended up that Saturday we went back across the border to San Diego, and Aunt Mo got us a room at the Four Points by Sheraton, and it was nice. So thank you, Aunt Mo. She got us out of a jam on that one because we didn't know. So we go back across the border, and it was a little more strenuous going back across. They did check your passports, and they didn't really open our bags or anything. They just came in and asked us, did we have anything to declare or, anything. And they told us, we don't have anything, so don't worry about it. And we went through. It was not a problem. We got to our hotel, and we took a little nap and, took a little rest for a little while. And then we decided we were going to venture out. So we go to the Fashion Valley Mall, and we get an Uber. Never Ubered before in my life. So we get this little guy. He was sweetest little black guy. He had, it was a little Honda, I think. And I was like, oh, Lord. But I didn't know if I would fit in the back seat, but I did. It was fine. But he was so funny, and we kept him laughing the whole way to there. He said that we were his best ride of the day because we're crazy. But this Fashion Valley Mall that we went to was huge, and it had name brands that I never would buy in my life because I can't afford it. I mean, they had Prada, they had Louis Vuitton, they had everything. And we walked around for a while, and finally they got us a wheelchair so that because I couldn't walk that far. And Heather bought a couple of things on clearance at Macy's, but we didn't buy much. And we had some lunch. I had a broth from somewhere that Heather found. And we stayed till, I don't know, 6 or so, I think. It was getting dark. But it was really beautiful, and we really enjoyed getting out and doing that and seeing all those things. And we Ubered back, and then we had Alex, a gentleman that took us back. He was very kind, and it took a little while to get across, because the traffic there was crazy. But we got back to our room, and Heather decides that she's going to rent a scooter to go across the road to the store and get some more Dr. Pepper. And so she's standing out there fiddling around, and I text her. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, downloading the app. And so I'm sitting there waiting, and next thing I know, I see her going across on this scooter. And I was like, oh my God, I hope she don't get ran over. Well, coming back, I did get a video of it. I did catch it in time. And she comes right up to the door with the bag and drops it off. And these people are like, my gosh, that's service. I was like, no, that's my sister on a scooter. They thought it was like Uber Eats or something. But it was hilarious. And we got to our room that night, and I did not sleep well. I'm so used to sleeping on my stomach that it was so hard for me to get comfortable. And I tossed and turned, and it's like the time was going so slow. You would feel like you slept for 15 hours and wake up and it's 10:30 at night. And you're like, oh my gosh. So we finally got up the next day and got ready for the airport. And we got there, I want to say like at 7:30. No, it was right around 8. And our plane didn't leave till 10:30. So we goofed around there and did a little shopping, got some souvenirs, and got on the first plane to come home. And it was a big plane. This was our longer flight. And it was so nice. It had a TV in the headrest. So I watched a movie while we were going. I watched The Kitchen with Melissa McCarthy, and it was pretty darn good. And the only problem I have to tell you with this flight, oh my gosh, they put us at the very back by the bathroom. And I swear that everybody on that flight had to pee. And they lined up down the row, and all I could see is crotch in my face or ass in my face. So finally, I scooted over to the middle so that, they could have a little room there, because it seemed like everybody was going to put their butt or their crotch in my face anyway. But it was really a good flight. I think the landing on that one was a little rough, but it was still a good flight. And then when we got to Houston, that is the most messed up airport I've ever seen in my life. We had to take 2 little golf carts and a a train just to get to our station. And it was crazy. But we got there in time, and Heather scarfed something down. I didn't eat. I was just drinking apple juice. But we got on this tiny plane again. And there was 2 seats on one side and one on the other. And it was not very comfortable. That was the worst flight as far as like comfort of the seats. And I ended up getting over by the window and, just sitting. But we had just taken off, and it's like my feelings opened like a floodgate. And I just thought, oh my God, like I did this. Like this is over. And I finally got what I always wanted. And I cried and sitting there by myself crying on the plane. And when we landed, they were taking us from that gate, to get our bags and stuff. And I cried the whole way through the airport. And then, when Jeremy and the kids came, I lost it. And I cried the rest of the night, really, on and off, because it's so surreal that we did that. Like, my stomach is changed forever, and my life is going to change. And it was one thing to talk about it and say, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. But to actually have done it, it's crazy to me. And when we were going through it, I didn't enjoy it as much as I do thinking back. Like, that was pretty cool that we did that, or, this or that. But I definitely, if you cannot get it in the States, I would definitely say it is well worth traveling and doing this. They took good care of us. They do not baby you there. They don't, they come in, they give you your meds, they do what they got to do, and they leave. But they do take good care of you. Everything that they were supposed to do, they did. The drivers, Remy and Abraham, they were so great. One day, you can tell in the pictures or the videos, because my hair is so crazy. They had no conditioner and no washcloths either. That was crazy. Anyway, so I'm walking up for the tour, and I hadn't even met Abraham but one time, and he came up and gave me the biggest hug. And I said, you must know that I feel bad. And he's like, oh, family, it's okay, And I just loved him for that, because he could tell that, I needed it. And we did go to the pharmacy, and I got enough omeprazole for 6 months. I got a year's worth of B12 shots. I got some, what else did I get? I didn't get a whole lot. Just stuff that I knew that I was going to need. I don't remember what else I got. I got some spray for my incisions, and I got some medicine for yeast infection just in case, because of all the antibiotics. And I think that was it. Nope, I got an antidiarrheal, which I didn't need, but Heather ended up using a lot of it. And anyway, it was interesting in Mexico. Heather said that she had some of the best tacos she'd ever had. They were delivered to her on a dirt bike by Uber Eats. And the whole time we were there in the hospital, there was dogs barking. Like barking. And sirens every 5 seconds, sirens. And I tried using earplugs, and, I couldn't. Like, I had the eye mask on and my CPAP and the earplugs, and I just felt so, like, enclosed, and I was freaking out, so I had to take the earplugs out. So it was a little hard to sleep. But all in all, it was a really great trip. Like, I could not have done it without Heather. I can't imagine anybody else putting up with me. But she keeps things light and fun and crazy, and keeps me, and if she, like, I didn't want to cover this hole here, and she's like, you have to do that, like, you'll get an infection, like, you're gonna cover that up. And then I'm like, okay, so she makes me mind. I have an incision here, I think here, and then the drain tube is here. I'm not going to show you because some people are really squeamish, but it's not bad at all. They are all closed up. that's what I meant to tell you. I forgot to take my vet bond into the operating room. So I get out, and that's the first thing I think of. I didn't take my vet bond. And so I look down, and I have bandages, and I'm highly allergic to tape. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, when the doctor came in, I said something to him about forgetting it. And he's like, oh, it's okay. There was some Dermabond in there that another patient had left, and we used it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, if you use somebody else's for me, let me donate mine so that you can use it for somebody else that might have forgotten or didn't have it. And he was like, oh, that would be so great. So I just gave him mine because they used some on me. And so I don't have any of these covered. The only one that I have to have covered is where the drain tube was. And everything is healing great already. They don't hurt to me at all. I did get a bath today and try to get all the tape residue and everything off, but the spray that you put on is orange, and so everything is kind of orange. And the shots that I have to do in my stomach leave a bruise, so there's bruises all over. I think I only have 2 more days of shots, and I did my own today, which was interesting. Heather had done all the other ones for me, but I did my own, and it was fine. It doesn't hurt like the shot part, but the medicine stings for a little bit. But, I mean, it's the least of everything. I have had a good day of getting in food, but I feel like I'm very thirsty and can't get enough to drink. And I can't get it down fast enough, it seems like, to really satisfy me. So I don't know what that's about. But it seems like that water is harder to get down than juices or anything else that I've had. So I'm kind of staying away from water for a little bit and doing more juices and things like that. But I had some thin down soup today, and it was really good. I've gotten in almost a whole can of soup, and to me that's a lot when you don't, I mean, I know how little my stomach is. So I don't think that I've lost any more. I think you're always a little swollen and stuff after surgery, so I'm not going to weigh for a little bit. But when I did weigh in at the hospital, my weight was 368 from 404. And the doctor told me that my liver looked great. I had done a really good job on my pre-op diet, yay. And that they repaired a hernia in my stomach while they were in there, and I didn't even know I had it. So that was interesting news. But I did have heartburn a lot, so that makes a lot of sense. But Dr. Ortiz himself was so kind and compassionate, and I really did like him. Everybody we met was pretty great. I mean, you know, there's always people that you don't click with or whatever, but they were all good to us. Like, it's definitely worth going and doing because it will change your life. I won't say it's the easiest trip if you are obese because of flying and stuff like that, and that was hard. I don't ever want to fly again being obese, which hopefully I won't be, after a while, but it was well worth it. I mean, you do get good care. You get taken care of. They treat you good. When the drivers, they call you family, and they mean it. Like, they take care of you. And I'm so glad that I got to do it, and that that part of my journey is done, but now comes the rest of it. I didn't get to mention that I'm so astounded that I have 100 subscribers, and I'm so thankful to all of you for going through this with me. And I'm sorry for rambling on. There's so much that I want to tell you, and I wish Heather was here to fill in the gaps. But Jeremy's working on piecing together all the videos and clips that we have and stuff like that. I don't think we videoed as much as we thought we did, maybe, but either way, you can see where we were and what went on and things like that. But this has been the hardest and the best experience of my life. I was so homesick and so ready to get home. But now that I'm home, I think back on the trip and think, wow, that was amazing. Like, it really was an adventure. And it was emotional for me. And I'm so very thankful. I'm thankful for all of you for supporting me, and for my family for standing behind me and taking care of stuff while I was gone. And for Heather for going with me. And I'm sorry, I'm a bumbling mess. But, you know, those hormones, they say they'll get you. And they're not lying. But this really was life-changing for me. I cannot express my thank you and how it feels to have people stand behind you and to care about you. I got so many messages and texts and people just saying, hey, how's it going? And it means so much. I just feel so humbled because I'm just a person going through something, you know, something that's hard. And I'm just trying to share it with you. And I appreciate you for joining me. I'm going to get that video up as soon as we can with the videos of it. And if we can work it out, maybe Heather and I can get together soon and do a live and give you all the commentary that she has, because it's hilarious. Anyway, I'm sorry. Whew. Anyway, until next time, guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. I can't wait to see what happens. And there's so many more things that I could sit here and tell you, but this video is going on forever. So I'll save it for another time. Until next time, much love.